We are approaching 1 million subscribers on our YouTube channel. Can't believe we're even close to this. Can't thank you guys enough. If you haven't already, please go hit that subscribe button. Lots of fun NBA content coming your way. I think a lot about organizations, even teams, professional sports teams that have like mission statements. And when I think about my career, in some ways, like I had a personal mission statement while I played. Now, as a person in the media, there's a personal sort of mission statement, and so it goes back to that idea of prioritizing. Like when you get up in the morning, the mindset around the singular focus of like what it is you're trying to do. What is that?
To me, it's to grow the game of basketball. I mean, one of the benefits to being on the top of the pyramid of the global game is that virtually everything that happens around the game in a positive way accrues essentially or over time to the NBA's benefit. To the extent that more kids, boys and girls, whether it's through the NBA or the WNBA, become interested in our league, play the game of basketball, play basketball video games, engage in social media around the game. All that to me is largely positive for the game. I mean, you and I could go on. There's some bad aspects of that, of course. But to me, and I have to remind myself, and I like the way you put the question, because I've lost my focus along the way as well. And we should talk a little bit about that. Sort of my theme for this season is back to basketball in some ways, that the game is at the core of everything we do. And to me, having that discipline to be thinking every morning that as I look out at my day, what am I doing that's focused on the game itself, improving interest in the game, improving the quality of play. There's all these wonderful things that have happened around the business and outside the business, but it's including the massive interest in social media with our players and everything about basketball. But I often have to remind myself that all stems from the quality of play on the floor, the quality of the competition.
Is there one regret? I don't want to call it regret, actually. Is there one thing in your time as commissioner that you're like, you know what? I wish I would have done that a little differently.
I'm sure there is. Honestly, there's so many things I'm having trouble, like on the spot, thinking something so specific that I would have done differently. No, if you reminded me of some things that I've done.
Do you remember back in 2017?
No, but I'm saying like I'm a second guesser.
Yeah. Because my one thing, if I was to give one critique of the job, and this isn't just on you, my one thing is everybody in that class of 2016 really they made it. And everybody else that wasn't a top tier player got screwed. That was the only thing. But a lot of that was on the union, right? We talked about this as players, as unions. That was the only thing.
You're talking about the smoothing issue.
The smoothing issue versus...
That's one I won't put on my list because we wanted to smooth
You guys
increase.
suggested the smooth,
One thing, a quick one just as I'm thinking about it, I think the postseason awards didn't work, where we tried to shift all and have an award show postseason. I mean, that's not top of most people's list, but I think that was something we tried that wasn't particularly effective. But as I started to say, I mean, I'm constantly second guessing myself. I'm sure even I won't necessarily listen to this interview because I lived it, but I'm sure there's something that I said that I'm going to say, why did I say it that way or whatever? I mean, it's just sort of, when I hear people say they have no regrets, I never can believe it. Yeah. I mean, I'm full of regrets.
Oh, sure. And look, I think the evidence has shown this, that you are malleable in your decision making. The All-Star game this year is a great example of that. We're going back to East-West. We're not doing the draft anymore. I love it. And look, we talked about the in-season tournament. I'm sure there'll be some tweaks on that going forward. We're going to see how this year plays out. I'm very excited about it. But you've always shown that ability to be malleable.
And one thing I want to mention quickly around All-Star, and again, to the extent that I listen to commentary, one of these points came directly from you, and that was talking about the fanfare around All-Star and saying, how does the league expect the players to go out and play as if it's a real game, and putting aside the parties, but even when there's
a concert beforehand,
there's a concert, the intros
stages,
go on, they're standing there and all that. And in fact, sort of under the theme of back to basketball, and I think even going to the heartland of basketball in Indiana and going to Indianapolis this year for the All-Star game, and this came directly from discussions with players, which was, all right, we get it. Like nobody was happy about the experience last year. No one at all. And it's not Joe Dumars or me necessarily saying we expect you to be playing like it's the finals, but we need a game. And I think what we got back from the players, fine though, but then you got to let us run through our typical routines. This is how we prepare for games. And if you're going to have us do a quick shoot around and stand there for 20 minutes while you do these really fancy intros, as much as everybody might love them, then you can't also expect us to play a game. And that's where sort of a rebalancing at the league is necessary, which is, it's great. We love all the sort of the entertainment side, the sizzle around the league. But if basketball is what's most important, that's at the center of these concentric circles of what we value, then players should be able to go through their normal routines. We can't, maybe we can extend halftime 2 minutes, but not 10 minutes, because as you well know, you're accustomed to a certain routine. Your body is loaded to perform in a certain way. And so, and whether that's in the category of regrets, I think that's one where it was kind of like a slippery slope. Every year there becomes less emphasis on the game itself. Right. And wasn't it great? You guys do this fancy technology summit on Friday, and you have a newsmaker breakfast, and you have, all kinds of, we had a big seminar on Africa last year and the league we creating there, things of enormous interest to the people who were there at Salt Lake City for the game. But then it's a reminder to us when the weekend is over and you're looking at the post-weekend commentary, 95% of it is about the game. Not about, wasn't that a great party Friday night? And there's just a realization that, especially where 99% of the imagery for our game is delivered through media, it's not through the in-person experience, which might be very enjoyable for the people there, that back to first principles again.
Yeah. Back to basketball.